I was sent to yet another collection of questions for atheists. Let's take a look.
Question number 1. If there is no God, why is there anything at all? This is another angle on where did the universe come from without a creator. If you want to say, well, the Big Bang, great. I go for Big Bang. But God lit the fuse. God set it all in motion. Where did your Big Bang come from? Has anything ever been observed to happen without a cause? Okay.
We don't know. That's simply it. If I want to be intellectually honest with myself, I can't make any positive claims about the origin of the universe apart from what we know. The evidence we have shows there was a massive expansion of energy and matter, but our understanding only goes back to the first fraction of a second after that expansion. Before that, we don't know. The point is, since we can't say what happened there was no reason to presuppose an intelligence as the creator of it. So until there is such evidence, I have no reason to think there is one.
By the way, don't bother with the where did God come from argument. God, by definition, is self-existent and pre-existed this universe. In other words, when God created the universe, He created time along with it. It was no before or after at that point. So that argument just doesn't do any good.
Yes, but we can claim that for anything. The natural cause of the universe always existed before the Big Bang, is eternal, and pre-existed the universe. Claims like that can be dismissed because there is no evidence behind it. Once you can show me there is some kind of intelligent, and, according to you, eternal being behind the cause of the universe, I will have to accept it. Until then, I have no reason to believe in one.
Second question. Where is the evidence that life could have begun without intelligent interference?
Could have? Well, there's the Urey-Miller experiments, which created several biomolecules and amino acids, which showed natural processes could form the original components for life. There's also the recent work of Jeremy England, who hypothesized how some molecules will self-replicate in order to dissipate excess energy. This means the second law of thermodynamics could be responsible for the existence of life. This is all hypothetical, hypotheses about how life may have formed. They may not be what happened when life developed, but they're explanations on how it could have occurred, using processes we understand and have evidence for. And even if we have no idea how life came about, that still doesn't mean we have to default to magical intelligence did it.
How can matter existing and moving randomly without any volition, without any will or anything else, become what's necessary for life and then become alive?
How and why do you claim that will is necessary for life? The vast majority of life forms on this planet are single-celled creatures who have no will or desire for anything. They simply act and react without any kind of understanding of their position in the universe. The ones that survive are not making a conscious decision to, but are simply suited to an environment they have no cognizant understanding of. As I mentioned earlier, there are several theories about how abiogenesis could have occurred. All of them depended on natural processes, no outside will needed.
Question 3. How can evolution explain features of irreducible complexity apart from intelligent intervention?
Another way to say irreducible complexity is, I don't know how it came about. Must have been a god. The idea that Michael Behe made up states that a biological system can be so complex that if you remove one part of it, the system falls apart, so it could not have arisen by chance. The problem with this claim is that evolution is constantly changing existing features, and those new features can combine to do new and possibly more efficient functions. The downside is these new functions can be depended upon by the organism, meaning if one part of this feature was taken away, yes, it would be unable to survive.
Features that we see in creatures today, such as wings. Wings on birds. Birds supposedly evolved from reptiles, and those wings before this evolution were legs, forelimbs, arms, whatever you might want to call that. And you need to be able to say and demonstrate that each stage that was necessary in their steps of evolving these wings was a benefit to that creature all along the way. In other words, this creature whose legs began to be wings would have become less worthwhile as legs. How is he more survivable than the creature who has experienced no change and has perfectly good legs.
The different functions of the wing all had intermediary uses that would offer advantages to the creature that had them. My old paleontology professor theorized that feathers on the forms of dinosaurs would be useful as a net-like structure for catching bugs and other small creatures. Feathers would also make good insulation for egg-laying creatures like dinosaurs. The flexible wrist of raptors lends itself to a flapping motion. Raptor even means bird of prey, alluding to the similarity of body structures, even though etymology does not equal science. I'm just saying the similarities were noticed by the people making up the names. Half a wing would help a creature survive a fall better than none at all, even if it wasn't capable of true flight. It's no surprise that these functions could work together to evolve into flight, a very useful feature for an organism.
Question 4. How can the evolutionary model be true, since the fossil record clearly shows most major groups emerging at the same time?
What? Life arose about 3.5 billion years ago. These were basic single-celled creatures. Multicellular organisms didn't appear until about 900 million years ago. The fossil record showed that fish appeared about 530 million years ago, reptiles 310 million years ago, mammals 200 million years ago, and birds about 150 million years ago. In what sense did these groups appear to evolve at the same time? They appeared within hundreds of millions of years of each other. Do you have any idea how long that is? To put that in perspective, go to a grocery store, pick out one item, and get in line where everyone has a full cart, and everyone speaks a different language, one the cashier doesn't understand. And it's coupon day, but all the coupons have a misprint, and everyone wants to pay with checks. Now wait in line all day. Now do that every day for a year. Then multiply that by 100 million. As you can gather, 100 million years is a very long time. If you mean they continue to evolve at the same time, well, yes, evolution is a continuous process. As one creature changes, others may evolve as well to respond to the new pressure. Some may not need to evolve very much, since they're already incredibly efficient as they are, but evolution does continue.
I'd like you to Google Cambrian explosion and see what I'm talking about there.
I understand the Cambrian explosion. It was a period of time when many different fossils were formed. The Burgess shale being the most prominent example, something I was fortunate to study in my undergrad days. But, contrary to the name, it wasn't an event that happened all at once. It was a roughly 20 million year space of time where many different creatures evolved. I don't see how this disproves evolution.
Stephen Jay Gould, who was the foremost proponent of evolution for years and years, now deceased, said that the dirty little secret of evolution was that the fossil record does not show gradual change. He's right, it doesn't. And yet we have been told since Darwin, that gradual change is what happened. Very small steps, they're not in the fossil record.
Even if the rate of mutation changed, that does not mean mutations don't happen. Dr. Gould promoted the idea that pressure changed the rate of mutation. If it was harder for animals to survive, the ones that had even a slight beneficial mutation would be much more likely to edge out their siblings and pass on that advantage. If survival was quite easy for creatures, then new changes would not upset the status quo so much, meaning it would be much slower for mutations to be passed on.
Darwinism and the evolutionary model is now becoming like the old story of the emperor's new clothes. People fear to publicly question it, but in private they do. And many of them have gone ahead and stepped out and put their names on lists of people who publicly declare that the Darwinian model does not account for what we see in nature today. So don't bother with telling me that all of those people are kooks. You know, we're talking to PhD level scientists from, you name it, universities and such.
Most of those who have an issue with the Darwinian model of evolution either don't have backgrounds that relate to biology or have issues with the specifics of Darwin's claims that have been shown to be inaccurate. The vast majority of scientists who study biological issues have no problem with the idea that species change over time and that change is the result of natural pressures and forces. To give this a bit of perspective, the best known list of this type is the Discovery Institute's A Scientific Descent from Darwin, which lists the scientists who are skeptical at Darwin's claims. But here's the thing. The majority of signatories on that list have backgrounds that have nothing to do with biological or evolutionary studies. Barely a quarter of the names on that list have anything to do with evolution. Compare that to the infamous Project Steve, named in honor of Dr. Gould, where a list is created of scientists only named Steve who accept evolution. In the relevant fields, scientists with just that name outnumbered all the scientists the Discovery Institute could find at a rate of almost 3 to 1. Yes, there are some scientists that study evolution and have a problem with it, but until they show a reason to overrule the evidence found in support of evolution, they have nothing to back up their claims.
Question 5. If there is no objective standard of right or wrong, which was furnished by the Creator, how can anything be wrong?
Morals are subjective. What I think is right, others may see as wrong, and vice versa. If morals were objective, everyone would think all the same things would be moral or immoral, and believe me, I know that's not the case. Personally, I base my morals on the harm principle. If an action causes harm to others and does not alleviate harm in some way to offset what it does, it's immoral.
If man is the result of mere chance, a combination of atoms that just happened, then why is there any value in life whatsoever?
Value is also a subjective concept. I place value on human life because I have empathy for other people. I've discussed this in other videos, but basically, I know what it's like to be harmed, and because I don't wish it on myself, I don't wish it on others. Empathy is something we have evolved as a social species. People who work together have a better chance to survive, and groups that feel kinship to one another, including empathizing with them, form stronger groups. We evolved our morality because people who cared about others around them had a better chance to survive and pass on that caring gene.
What can you point to that says why murdering babies is any less desirable way to increase food supply than harvesting fruit from trees?
I hate to have to explain this, but murdering people harms them.
I'll have to take an extra strength vitamin duh. Duh.
Because of the empathy we've evolved, I place value on people much more than I place on pieces of fruit. So I don't have as much of a moral issue picking fruit than I do with ending lives of viable humans. Also, as an aside, fruit has evolved to be eaten. Plants make food that tastes good as a way to spread their seeds, giving them a better chance to survive and thrive. I'm halfway through his questions. Stay tuned for next time when I answer the rest of them. And, as always, if you come across anything I should go over, send it my way.